It is the 13th day of July 2023. Good evening and welcome to NEWSWATCH on Hope TV, the station where you look and live. Quite an eventful day it has been, with reactions from various quarters following Wednesday's protests in various parts of the country, which unfortunately led to the loss of lives and destruction of property. We will be delving into the details shortly. We welcome you to send us your feedback on our social media platforms on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, where we are streaming live at Hope TV Kenya. I'm Tess Njenga and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Mureithi. Let us begin. President William Ruto has said that the opposition will not be allowed to hold the country at ransom. Speaking at Mutindo grounds in Chogoria, Tharaka Nithi County, after opening the Chogoria water supply project today, the president expressed concern that the aim of the opposition is to sabotage the country's economy. He argued that the ongoing violent demonstrations that have led to loss of lives and destruction of property had nothing to do with the high cost of living. Earlier, the president had issued title deeds to more than 10,000 people in Shapiu, Mwingi North, Kitui County.
Hawa marafiki zangu, ndugu zangu hawa wawili, watu ya handshake, sasa wanaendelea na kupanga fujo katika taifa letu la Kenya. Na hawa majamaa mimi nawajua na nawaelewa sana, na ndio kwa sababu niliwanyorosha. Sasa wameenda pale ati wameenda kutafuta njama ya kutumia vijana hawana ajira, kulete fujo, kulete maafa katika taifa letu la Kenya, wakitumia pesa ambazo waliiba kutoka taifa letu la Kenya, kulete ghasia katika taifa letu la Kenya ili tusijikomboe kutokana na minyororo ya njaa, kukosekana kwa kazi na umaskini. Wanataka kutufungia pale. Mimi nataka niwaambie, tuko tayari kwa vyovyote, lakini minyororo ya njaa na kukosekana kwa kazi, watoto wetu wanahangaika Kenya, na umaskini iliyoko Kenya lazima tuimalize, na tutajikomboa sisi wenyewe. I want to tell my friends, the handshake people, I know you very well. You are orchestrating anarchy in the Republic of Kenya. You are financing chaos because you want to keep this country in the chains of hunger and poverty and unemployment. And because you are scared that we now have a plan that is going to make sure that we produce enough food for the people of Kenya. You know we have a plan to employ 1 million young people in the Republic of Kenya. You know we have a plan on how to improve our economy so that we can get rid of poverty. And that is why you do not want us to move forward, because you want us chained to this prison which you have orchestrated. I want to promise you, we are going to unchain ourselves. Tutasonga mbele kama watu wa Kenya.
Now, Azimio la Umoja has announced a new wave of protests that will commence next week on Wednesday, July 19th. Opposition leaders made the announcement in a statement read by former Defense Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation. Azimio has further indicated that it will observe 5 days of mourning in honor of Kenyans who lost their lives during yesterday's demos.
Consequently, we announce that our protests will resume on Wednesday, 19th July 2023. In the meantime, we proceed with the collection of signatures against Ruto on both digital and manual platforms. We notice the Communication Authority has joined the war against Kenyans by trying to cripple our digital signature collection platform.
Na vile sisi tuliwaagiza Wakenya walijitokeza kwa njia ya amani. Hakukuwa na fujo. Kila mahali walipojitokeza walikuwa wanaimba, wakitembea vile imekubalika katika sheria zetu. Wakenya wana haki na uhuru ya kufanya maandamano, ya kukutana pamoja na vile vile kupeleka kumbukumbu. Lakini tunasikitishwa sana na vitendo ya serikali hii kupitia kwa polisi yao. Tuliona polisi jambazi ambayo walikuwa maamrishwa kujitokeza kama maadui ya Wakenya.
Still on the same, the damage done on the Nairobi Expressway by rogue youth during the Azimio anti-government protests on Wednesday have incurred losses of at least 706 million shillings. This is according to Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, addressing the media at the Syokimau toll station. After assessing the damages caused along the expressway, Murkomen stated that in addition to the damage to the expressway, 3 railway stations and other key infrastructure were destroyed as protesters targeted tradable items. And as our reporter Alice Diana reports, the Cabinet Secretary said it is the taxpayers and the organizers of the demos who will cater for the damages.
The government has condemned the vandalism that was carried out by rogue youths on several infrastructure in Nairobi and Machakos counties during the anti-government protests on Wednesday. According to Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, the damage caused by protesters at a section of Nairobi Expressway could be over $5 million, which amounts to 706.7 million shillings. Speaking on Thursday during a visit to assess the damage caused, Murkomen said the value was arrived at after going through all that was vandalized.
The people who have been organizing this mass action have told the nation that they are doing so because they want to fight the cost of living. But the damage only done on the express short period of time could be anything up to $5 million. And if it reaches that level in one infrastructure, I'm not talking about the railway, there are 4 railway stations.
In addition to the damage to the expressway, the CS said 3 railway stations and other key infrastructure were destroyed.
From the Syokimau railway station to the stations at Pipeline, Embakasi, and one more. That is Tobias, what's the other station? And Makadara. Pipeline and Mukuru. Those stations, as you can see, they have been badly damaged. The events of yesterday cannot be equated to exercising constitutional right of freedom of movement or information or political rights as purported by the perpetrators of this very heinous act.
According to Murkomen, the attacks on key infrastructure witnessed on Wednesday was pre-planned. He noted that the government will ensure that those who participated in the destruction are brought to justice.
We've come here to assure the investors of this very important project that the government of Kenya is going to do everything humanly possible to make sure that we bring all the perpetrators to justice. Fortunately, most of them were captured in camera, in the CCTV cameras that were here. We have the footages. The police have arrested not less than 50 people in relation to the acts that happened here yesterday. But you know, we had almost 2,000 people operating from here. We will do everything humanly possible.
So far, police have already arrested more than 50 people linked to the expressway vandalism.
As per the agreement we have on Moja Express, the people of Kenya, the taxpayer, is going to pay for this damage. We will not allow the already overburdened Wanjiku to pay this on their own. We will make sure that all those who organized this mass action yesterday and this targeted attack are going to personally pay. They will carry vicarious liability for every damage that was caused, and for every penny that will be paid from the exchequer, they will be asked to indemnify the people of Kenya, and they will have to pay.
The Transport Minister stated that the damages will be catered by the taxpayers. He, however, noted that the ministry will institute a civil suit that will ensure the organizers of the protest pay for the damages to compensate the exchequer for the amount paid. Meanwhile, the government has lifted a suspension of public service vehicles from using Nairobi Expressway effective immediately. Transport Cabinet Secretary Sh700 Murkomen said the move is aimed at boosting mobility across the city.
Today, the government of Kenya lifted the ban that was on PSV vehicles using the expressway. We are now opening it for PSV vehicles that want to use this route, and we want to make sure that we support this infrastructure, because the future of delivery of infrastructure in Kenya is no longer going to be purely on using taxpayer money. We can use private investments like the Moja Express to do PPP programs that are going to protect the people of Kenya.
Alice Diana, Hope TV NewsWatch.
Thank you, Alice Diana, for that report. And on a similar note, Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has warned that the government will not allow any more protests in the country. Speaking during the official opening of Kiserian Police Station, the Interior Cabinet Secretary said that the demonstrations held by the opposition yesterday were chaotic, adding that they will not address the high cost of living.
Kwa muda mrefu watu wa siasa sana sana wale ambao wamechaguliwa ama wale ambao wana wafuasi wengi wamefikiria ya kwamba kwa sababu wanaungwa mkono na wananchi wanaweza kufanya uhalifu na hakuna hatua itachukuliwa. Na kama wale ambao mliona yale yametereka jana katika Kenya, mtakubaliana na sisi kama serikali ya kwamba tusipodhibiti shida hii ambaye ni shida ya uhalifu ambayo umejificha kwa siasa, nchi yetu itaenda kuharibika na tunaweza kupoteza nchi yetu tukidhani ya kwamba ni mambo ya siasa yanaendelea.
And moving on to something else, with exactly 2 months before the Kenya Kwanza regime marks a full year in office, 56% of Kenyans say they believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. This is according to the latest poll released today by Trends and Insights for Africa, TIFA, which has attributed this to the high cost of living. According to the survey, there is widespread agreement that increased economic hardships and failed campaign promises are the main failures of the Kenya Kwanza government, with the launch of the Hustler Fund and stabilization of the cost of fertilizer perceived as the main achievements of the regime. Our very own Kennedy Kimani with more on this story.
According to the latest survey by Trends and Insights for Africa, TIFA, 56% of Kenyans perceive that the country is headed in the wrong direction. The TIFA's scorecard of the Kenya Kwanza government, as it marks 10 months in office today, shows that only 25% of Kenyans believe that the country is headed in the right direction.
But those who are saying the country is going in the right direction now are only 25% of Kenyans. So they appreciate the leadership of Kenya Kwanza and President Ruto, that's 24% mentioned. And they also say that the economy is improving and the cost of living is not so bad, only 12%. So those are the 25% who feel that the country is heading in the right direction, and remember, they are a minority. Those who say that the country is heading in the wrong direction, remember, they are 56% in total. What is their main reason why they think the country is heading in the wrong direction? So a large majority, 79%, say that the country is heading in the wrong direction because of the high cost of living. And this is basically talking about the economy.
Of the 1,530 respondents interviewed between the 24th and 30th of June this year, there is widespread agreement that the launch of the Hustler Fund and stabilization of the cost of fertilizer are the main achievements of Ruto's government, while increased economic hardships and failed campaign promises are perceived as the main failures of the regime.
What we are seeing here, out of the total sample, 52% of Kenyans are saying that increased economic hardship is the reason why, or one of the things that they count as the failures of the Kenya Kwanza government so far. As we all know, both sides, whether it was Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, one of the key manifestos they had or campaign promises was sorting out the economy. But now that the Kenya Kwanza government got into power, over half the sample, over half of Kenyans are saying this is one of their failures. They have actually increased economic hardships for Kenya.
According to the poll, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has been ranked as the best performer in Ruto's government with a score of 34%, with Education and Health Cabinet Secretaries Ezekiel Machogu and Susan Nakumicha coming in second and third, with a mean score of 7% and 6% respectively. The poll by Tifa comes at a time when the opposition has begun its civil disobedience against the Kenya Kwanza regime, which is barely 1 year in office, which begs the question, will economic and political stability be achieved soon? Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
Thank you, Kennedy Kimani, for that report. And on that note, we take our very fast break on Newswatch tonight. Don't go too far. We have plenty more coming up.
Next on Adam's Cave.
I discovered that money has ears and money has legs.
That's powerful.
Yes. And money is a loyal servant. Money in itself is not a bad thing. In fact, I want to think that you are likely to struggle more as a Christian when you don't have money.
Get to learn more on Man, Money and Mammon with Simon Wafubwa this Friday on Adam's Cave at 7:20 p.m.
Because women talk more and they are not very strong physically, when they want to hurt their husbands or their children or anybody, they use the tongue.
Families under God.
How can we continue to live carelessly, in ease?
Join Reverend Dr. Judy Mbugua as she imparts families through prayer, evangelism, and social transformation with the Word of God.
You know, God is not asking you to manage. He's asking you to be available. Amen. And He will make you able and capable.
Families under God, only on Hope TV.
Only God can turn a mess into a message.
I have a boy on a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I'm still preaching on the pulpit.
Amen.
Niliona mguu ya nyuma inakuja tu kunikanyaga, imenilenga tu kwa tumbo. Nikaitana tu, Jesus.
I got tired of working with the X-ray papers, and one day I just woke up and decided to burn them.
A test into a testimony.
The whole community didn't want to hear that anybody is born again. Excommunicated, straight.
Bila Yesu hakuna njia.
Join Sharon Naitore Wangenye on Testify.
Katika hiyo harakati hiyo spirit ikakemewa, mimi nimeona Yesu Kristo namna hii. Kwa msalaba. Opa. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Every Thursday at 8 p.m. for a moment to grow your faith some more.
A very warm welcome back. Let's get back to the news. The ruling United Democratic Alliance Party, UDA, has condemned the mass protests led by the opposition, terming them economic sabotage. While addressing the media at the Hustlers Plaza, the party's officials, led by their chair Cecil Mbarire, Kimani Ichung'wah, and Secretary General Cleophas Malala, said that the skirmishes witnessed yesterday will not be tolerated. They have asked the relevant government authorities to take decisive action for the acts of violence and deaths that occurred on Wednesday.
Sisi kama
serikali tunafanya yote yawezekanavyo kuhakikisha kwamba tumesaidia nchi hii imerudi mahali ilikuwa mwaka wa 2013, lakini tunaregeshwa nyuma na ile maandamano ambayo sio ya amani. Mliona jana wakibomoa critical infrastructure, ile super highway yetu, ile express highway yetu imebomolewa. Tunasema kwamba Raila Odinga, sio lazima upoteze maisha ya vijana wetu, sio lazima uharibu mali ya watu wetu ndio uonekane kwamba unaweza ongoza Kenya. Usijifiche nyuma ya kuandamana ati bei ya unga imepanda. Bei ya maisha na gharama ya maisha imepanda dunia nzima. These are global problem. And therefore upatie rais wetu nafasi aweze panga serikali yake, aweze saidia wananchi wa Kenya. And therefore tunasema kwamba tunakashifu vilivyo na tunasema hatutazidi kuruhusu mambo haya iendelee.
As a party and the Kenya Kwanza coalition, we are vindicated that Mr. Odinga is living true to his character and name as the Lord of Violence and the Master of Anarchy in this country. So we wish to state that what we have seen and what has been christened as protests, picketing and demonstrations over the cost of living have nothing to do with peaceful protests, have nothing to do with peaceful demonstrations, nor picketing, but what we are now witnessing as a country is a campaign of anarchy. How does the destruction of our economic activities witnessed yesterday and the days before deal with the cost of living?
UDA party condemns in the strongest terms possible their abhorrent acts of violence and the destruction of property perpetuated in the name of protests. We note with concern that unlike before, when the well-orchestrated violence was witnessed in some predictable parts of the country, the perpetrators of these heinous crimes imported the mayhem to other parts of the country. It concerns us that the protests and acts of hooliganism were well organized and exported to parts of Makueni, Machakos, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, and Kisii, which have traditionally remained calm, but where violence and deaths were reported.
And moving on, religious organizations under the Ufungamano Joint Forum have raised concerns regarding the state of the economy and the salaries of state officers and senior public servants. The forum, comprising various religious leaders and organizations, emphasized the need for urgent action to address the prevailing economic challenges faced by the nation. The religious leaders have also stressed the need for transparent and accountable governance, emphasizing that public resources should be utilized judiciously for the betterment of society as a whole. Our reporter Cynthia Masibo with that report.
Speaking at a press conference at the historic Ufungamano House, the Joint Forum of Religious Organizations highlighted the widening income disparities and the impact it has on the overall well-being of the Kenyan citizens.
We have been a key player.
Dr. Willie Mutiso expressed the deep concern about the growing economic inequality. He said undermines social cohesion and hampers the country's development.
Currently, the country is in a financial crisis, struggling to meet its internal and external debt, unable to do development and to pay salaries in time and to provide essential services. It would be therefore unreasonable and unwise to propose salary increase for top public servants already overpaid.
One of the key issues raised by the forum was the discrepancy between the salaries of state officers and senior public servants compared to the average citizen. Presbyterian leader in the East Africa, Reverend Eustace, argued that the current remuneration structure disproportionately favors those in position of power, resulting in a growing gap between the wealthy and the struggling majority.
About the painful economic problems the country and the people are facing, as Ufungamano Joint Forum of Religious Organizations as stated above, which are obvious. The Ufungamano Joint Forum of Religious Organizations disagrees with the proposal of increasing the salaries of the top public servants and supports the President Ruto's view that the timing is wrong and that the salary increase for this kind of public servants is misplaced because they're already earning many times more than the lower cadre.
The Joint Forum urged the government to take immediate measures to rectify this disparity and ensure that the salaries of state officers and senior public servants are fair and in line with the economic realities faced by the ordinary citizens.
Joint Forum.
Reverend Irungu Thomas concluded with a call for a national dialogue involving all stakeholders, including religious organizations, civil society, and the government, to collectively find solutions to the economic challenges facing the nation.
Country needs peace for economic and political development for the benefit of all. For this reason, Ufugamano Joint Forum Religious Organization urges Honorable Raila Odinga to call up the demonstrations organized by Azimio and to pursue any grievances through the processes and systems provided in the laws of Kenya.
As the nation grapples with economic hardships, the statement by the Ufungamano Joint Forum of Religious Organizations serves as a reminder of the need for concerted efforts to achieve economic stability, reduce inequality, and ensure dignified livelihood for all citizens. For Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Cynthia Masibo.
Much appreciated, Cynthia Masibo. Now, 42 counties have agreed to set aside land for the affordable housing scheme a couple of weeks after Parliament made into law the 1.5% housing levy. The move by the county has been termed as a game changer in the scheme that has met condemnation and praise in equal measures by members of the public. This came as the Department of Housing moved in to meet various government agencies so as to streamline the 200,000 housing units per year program and make it a reality. According to the Cabinet Secretary for Land, Zach Njeru, they were working closely with counties and several government agencies in making the program a success. Speaking in Naivasha, Njeru identified roads, water, electricity, and education as some of the major departments they are working with.
We've come to realize that for us to be able to make the affordable housing program works, we need to bring all those players on board. With houses, we have roads. With houses, we need water, we need electricity, we need hospitals, we need schools. So bringing all representation that will make those affordable housing real work, we realized we need a conversation.
We want to walk this journey together, all right? We want to walk through this journey together so that we sit down and we look at your plans, we share with you our plans, we identify the gaps, we come up with strategies on how we are going to deal with the gaps, because we must deal with the gaps. And we want to ask our regulators, and we want to ask, yes, our regulators especially, please see yourself as an enabling, providing an enabling environment. You know, sometimes we want the perfect, you know, and you go and stop things because this has not been done in a perfect way. And then also you take too long to approve whatever. We want to have a very interactive process so that you help us. Of course, we don't want to break any law. You know, guys from NEMA, we want to make sure that we comply with the environmental requirements and so on and so forth.
Two families from Tulele area in Nairobi East Sub-County are crying for justice after their kin were killed and bodies dumped at Kedong Ranch near Satellite area at the border of Narok and Nakuru counties by unknown people. The two deceased women had gone missing since Saturday and their bodies were found 3 days later, with preliminary investigations showing that they were strangled and their bodies cut into pieces before their death. Prior to their death, the women had traveled to Naisoya area in Narok North on Saturday, carrying over 400,000 shillings to buy beans at a cheaper price in the area. However, at the evening hours, attempts by their relatives to communicate with them were futile as their phones had been switched off.
Ilikuwa around tuliongea nao mpaka about saa 6 mchana wakiwa pale graduation wakatoka. Wakanipigia simu saa 8 wametoka na wameenda. So at around 5 I tried to call them to ask them whether they arrived there. Simu zao zilikuwa on but hawapik. They are not responding any call. At around I tried them at around 5 times. It's the same thing. No one was picking the call. Around 6 p.m. I also tried to call them. No one was picking the call. Imekuwa mteja simu zote mbili at the same time. They used to call both of them. So the communication ilishia hapo. I think ni network ilikuwa imepotea, maana sometimes wanaenda wanakosa network. So I tried to call them kuelewa maybe ni network until on a Sunday morning. On Sunday morning tukaanza tu bado kuongojea wafungue masimu. Nothing happened. Hawajafungua simu yoyote ile.
Tunahofia kama tutarudi kufanya kazi ama tutarudi kuwa tuma nyumbani, kwa sababu wamekufa kwa njia ambaye haieleweki. Hawa mabrokers wanakuja wanatuita kuna msigo, ukijaribu kwenda unaenda kuuawa bure.
Mom alikuwa the only person mwenye anatutetea, the only person mwenye alikuwa anatusimamia. Yeye ndio naweza sema, yeye ndiye alikuwa baba, yeye ndiye alikuwa kila kitu. Yeye ndiye alikuwa the only breadwinner that we had. Na sasa najua I've lost a king, a hero and everything to me.
Naomba yeyote ambaye anaweza kutupasha habari zaidi ili kusaidia katika uchunguzi tuweze kujua namna walivyouawa, aweze kujitokeza na kuandikisha taarifa bila kuwa na wasiwasi yoyote, ili tuweze kuwanaza wale ambao pengine wanaweza kuwa wamehusika.
And we do hope that those two families will indeed get justice. And apologies, I had said Nairobi, but those families are from Narok East Sub-County. Moving on, 11 families of Utange village in Kisauni Sub-County, Mombasa County have protested the grabbing of their 35-acre piece of land block 371 by an unscrupulous land grabber who later sold the land to a private developer. Led by their village elder Mzee Shebe, the residents claim Ali Said grabbed their land and sold it to a private developer named Bwana Mazrui. His sentiments were echoed by another elder, Hamis Massa, who urged the government through the National Land Commission to investigate the authenticity of the title deed in the hands of the private developer.
Shamba ambao tulikuwa tuko nao sisi ni 371. 371 ilikuwa na eka 35. Lakini hivi sasa ni ajabu kwamba anakuja mbepari mmoja anaitwa Bwana Mazurui. Mazurui asema ameuziwa hii shamba na Ali Sadi. Ali Sadi ni mtoto mdogo sana, amenitia hata mimi mikojo, nimembeba. Leo ameanza kutudhulumu sisi, asema amemuuzia Madam Mazurui. Eka 35 wazee walikaa wakafikiria kwamba likiwa kwa jina la mtu mmoja 371 eka 35 itakuwa na matatizo. Tukakaa tukafanya delegation, tukasema tuifanye hii shamba subdivision. Dakika hii tulifanya subdivision under the municipality, Bwana Ndereto kusaidiwa na Bwana Kiguru. Tulipomaliza kufanya subdivision katika hii shamba, wahusika ni watu 11 out of 35 acres. Kila mmoja anajua position yake na kila mmoja anatoa partition yake. Kama mimi niko na partition 2. Shamba ya kwanza niko na eka 3.5, shamba ya pili niko na eka 1.5. Leo dakika hii Mazurui anakuja niambia ameshapata title. Na sisi ndio tulioanza mwanzo kufuatiliza kwamba tunataka tupime hii shamba, kila mmoja awe atajisimamia mwenyewe katika ulipaji wa municipal rates. Mimi nina karatasi za municipal rates za kutoka 1960s. Receipt ninazo original ziko na nyumbani. Leo Mazuru yasema amepita landi, amepita wapi, amepata title. Sisi hatujua title hiyo, sisi hatujui yeye alipata kivipi.
Hii shamba tunanyanyaswa tu. Sina haja ya kuzungumza mlolongo mzima, lakini shamba tunanyanyaswa, na zaidi ni huyo bwana Mazrui ambaye amechukua yote hii. Ana karatasi, ana kila kitu, alizipata vipi? Hilo ndio swali letu kwake yeye. Na lazima aje aniseme kisawasawa, ama hizi kesi zitaendelea miaka na miaka. Maana haitaisha. Sisi tunataka tuone title D, kama itaandikwa nyingine tuandikiwe, ili asije mtu mwingine tena akazuka kuja kutudhulumu. Sisi tunataka title D, ikiwezekana mpya tuipate, tupate kuondoa hii matatizo. Lakini kwa title D zitatoka nje huko, akija mtu atuonesha, tutadanganywa mpaka lini? Tumeshoka kudanganywa na kudhulumiwa. Yeye yuauza apata pesa, sisi tutatoka kwa majaji. Yeye auza apata pesa, afanya mambo yake, sisi tuwalipa majaji, mawakili. Mpaka lini?
Now, across our borders, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi has made a visit to Uganda in an effort to alleviate the country's isolation through diplomatic means. During his speech, Raisi criticized Western nations, accusing them of actively promoting homosexuality, which he believes is a threat to the continuity of human generations. He emphasized the shared value of family established between Iran and Uganda, considering it is a fundamental principle.
Next on Adam's Cave.
I discovered that money has ears and money has legs.
That's powerful.
Yes. And money is a loyal servant. Money in itself is not a bad thing. In fact, I want to think that you are likely to struggle more as a Christian when you don't have money.
Get to learn more on Man, Money and Mammon with Simon Wafubwa this Friday on Adam's Cave at 7:20 p.m.
Every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Spotlight.
Do you feel that they are in a place where they can effect a Barack Obama moment?
When you hear the word of God and you hear Jesus is speaking.
Real talk on real issues.
You know, the Bible says faith without works is dead.
The truth of the gospel that will survive the time is not a health and wealth gospel.
When there is time to harmonize and bring one composite amendment.
With idealistic, thought-provoking guests.
So people come to be serviced, to be encouraged, to be empowered.
When the storm is over, you desire the closeness you have with God.
Hosted by Reverend Edward Furi.
And now in business, the government is creating a friendly environment that will attract more foreign investment to Kenya. Speaking from State House during a meeting with a delegation of Kenyan and Saudi businessmen earlier today, President William Ruto said the government would also regularly improve its policies to facilitate the operation of business in the country. Led by Saudi Investment Minister Khalid Al Fali, the delegation comprising 30 major companies is one of the largest business groups to ever visit Kenya. President Ruto noted that Kenya is a strategic location, making it easier for business to reach lucrative markets in the region and Africa as a whole.
We have deliberately built a business environment, an investment environment that supports investors. We continuously refine our policy framework. In this year's budget, for example, we have close to 10 items on our legislative process to make it better, easier, much more facilitative for investors like yourself, for business people like many in this room, to find an opportunity to work either in Kenya or in other countries from Kenya. There is scope in ICT. We are currently moving all government services from an analog manual platform to a digital platform.
We see Africa as part and parcel of our future. And through that integration process that we're strategizing around, we see a number of countries as key gateways into this great continent that is going to grow at multiples of global growth. We see you as our landing point for not only East Africa, but for Central Africa, and ultimately, as I dialogued with His Excellency Moses Korea, we see you as a role model for what other African countries should do and should follow.
And Chief of Stars and Head of Public Service Felix Koskei has revealed that the government has identified a core team of 60 big spending institutions to spearhead the war against corruption. He spoke at a Nairobi hotel during a consultative meeting with heads of procurement, supplies chain management, organized in partnership with the Kenya Institute of Supply Management. Some of the government parastatals identified in this new anti-corruption push include Kenya Power and Lighting Company, Kenya Pipeline Corporation, and Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA. The roundtable follows another consultative meeting for heads of administration, finance, accounts, supply chain management, and internal audit held last month at the Kenya School of Government in Kabete, Kiambu County. Koskei said the government will focus on prevention strategy, thus reducing the need and cost of investigations and prosecutions by limiting corruption opportunities. And now in sports, Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr have been banned by World Football governing body FIFA from signing players until they pay money owed to Leicester City for Ahmed Musa. Leicester, who sold the Nigerian winger in 2018, have lodged a claim for an outstanding £390,000 payment. Al Nassr made headlines by signing Cristiano Ronaldo last year. The club also added Croatia's star Marcelo Brozovic to their squad this summer and have been linked with big money move for Chelsea's Hakim Ziyech.